Good evening, Dr. Powell. My name is William Dickerson, and I'm going to outline and basically give my interpretation of Chapter 3 Planning Strategic Management. A company's mission statement is very important. It's the roadmap to where they're going in life with their company. It's the plan of what they have with their company. It's the purpose of the company. It's the premise. It's the values. It's directions. It's the culture. It's so many things based on the mission statement that you can get from a company. It's the roadmap to what a company is. It establishes what their likes are, what their beliefs are, what the owners, what the founders, organizational purpose was, their premise of why they hire people a certain way, and the directions that they want the company to go in. The mission outlines the organization's gust and fortitude of what they want to move on. Goals are critical to an organization in the mission statement. It's critical, it's a roadmap. With that roadmap, you can kind of understand where you want your workers to go. After years of founding a company, sometimes the culture changes, but if you would have every worker study that mission statement and forward from that mission statement, you would never lose purpose or sight of the goals that you want to accomplish. Goals are very important because big corporation, major corporation can have numerous goals at times. All companies are not moving on the same forward path towards the same goal. So you might have one organization in the company that has a different goal attached to it than another part of the company that has another goal attached to it. And that mission statement is very surreal for all these companies because you have to have a foundation for these companies. Many companies don't have, well, many companies that are not successful don't have a sound foundation with the mission statement. But another thing that's really important about a mission statement, it balances where people can use strategic goals to get things accomplished. Strategic goals are usually set up for upper management, and with upper management, they would set out a goal for the year. They would set out a goal for 6 months. They'll set out a small goal. And tactical goals are set up by middle management. And with middle management, they would pass that on to operation. Operational goals are good for operation management and supervisors of what they want to do and what they want to get accomplished. I believe all companies should have a ground floor for all parts of the business to work with operational management, middle management, upper management with foundational awareness and mission goals. Without a mission, your company will not exist. Many famous companies who deviated from their mission have failed and i.e. have not adapted to this 21st century way of working. And the goal and basically the arrow key of what you see with missions is you have a purpose. The purpose is stated in the mission statement in the very first part of it. That is the drive, that is the goal that you people understand. You have a premise. And with the premise, you have to understand what you plan on doing with this company. Values and culture is next, and directions of what the company wants to do. You only hire people that can fit into that mission, and I believe that's another thing. It basically, the mission follows everything that you want with your company to do. If you don't have a good mission, you don't have a good plan. Without a good plan, you fail to plan. You plan to fail. Excuse me. Operational plans and organizational plans should work hand in hand. Strategic planning is very important. Strategic planning is not based only on upper management. Strategic planning is for everyone. Strategic planning cuts down on waste of time. It could be in an operational part of strategic planning where it stops loss of productivity with the labor. Tactical plans is for the upper management, I believe, because you have to be tactical. And tactical means studying your operations, studying your opposition. That's not for operation. That's for the upper management to study, plan, and plot and strategize. A lot of companies hire certain marketing people to watch and believe in certain and watch and study certain acts to make sure that they're on the ground floor of the work that they are doing. Operational planning is focused on the lower level supervisors and middle management. This is very important to a company because without operational, you have nothing. And the bad thing about operational planning with most companies, the upper management cannot do the work of the lower management in operations. So I believe, me personally, every company should have upper management come from lower management. They're hiring people from off the street with a 6 figure, 7 figure salary, and they don't even know the purpose of the job. They don't know what the job does. They really don't care about what the job does. I believe middle management should work themselves up. That's a strategy I would use. Comprehensive planning accomplishes organizational goals. So if you have comprehensive planning for every situation, you should have a good organized goal. And organized goals are very important in this type of field because situations change on a whim. Prime example of a situation that changed on a whim was this pandemic that happened, and it caused a lot of businesses to come to a grinding halt. With them coming to a grinding halt, many of these businesses didn't have the opportunities to adapt to a situation, to change a situation, to follow into their business plan. They had to really rely on the government assistance because many of their businesses tanked and just totally destroyed. So that's another thing. You have to have a strategy, or what is strategy. You should have people that stay in office and constantly think of what ifs, hows, and whys to protect the company. That's a strategy planning business, strategic management type deal. It studies the challenges that come with day-to-day operations. It studies effective strategies, but also studies losing strategies. And many companies, many people don't like to study and learn of previous failures, so they repeat failures. So I think every company should have a study session where this worked for us, this didn't work for us, and they should study things that didn't work for them so they can know to stay away from that. I believe strategic goals should be shared by all in the company. It's just to a certain degree of how deep it goes. Upper management should know the whole deal about the strategic goal, and it should go down as far. But I believe when you have one company that works on one accord with the same goal in mind, you should be able to get things done. Distinctive competence is another thing we discuss. Something where organization does something extremely well. They have a great distinct competence in what they do. It's a specialized, it might be a company that has a specialized talent, and with that specialized talent they are the best in the world, and the range of scope of what they can do is great. Anybody that has a distinctive competence going from the top of the business to the lower part of the business has an upper advantage than a company that's just swimming in alone. A lot of people believe that Tesla is a car company. However, they're not a car company. Tesla is owned by Elon Musk, who Elon Musk decided to use car to bring in income. Nobody really knows what's his plan with his business, but however, he does deal with cars. Many people don't understand that and they think he's a car person. However, that is far from the truth. And with that being said, that's a strategic plan that he does to throw people off. And it works fine for him because he says one thing and does another. And that's a tactical plan. That's basically a plan where people use motives ulterior to what they show and don't tell you the whole scope of what they do. It specifies as different things, and just like with Elon Musk, he has a range of different businesses that you don't know about that work in the strategic business unit for his company to better his company. One example, the scope is the resource deployment. He uses certain resources from highly successful areas of his business to transform into other areas. Right now, his company could be bigger than what it is, but he's testing out the batteries for these vehicles. And as soon as he has the batteries that he decides he wants, he will move into another realm with that situation. There's a bunch of different strategic alternatives that we can discuss. And I will discuss one example with you, and that is a company buying a certain company that they have no dealings with in a strategic business unit. The prime example of why they would buy a business like that, maybe because the operations of a company that's their nemesis, or their, I guess could say, their competition, needs this business for their daily planning, their daily goods, their supply chain depends on this business. And they fail to acquire this business in ownership, and their operation ops have got this business. And what they did with the business is basically stall it and grind it and destroy it. And by them destroying it, they shut down their competition's basically way to survive. That would be a strategic alternative. And they have a lot of people that do that. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he's famous for doing that. He controls and buys a market. He'll sell one thing on Amazon, and then he'll come out with the Amazon's choice of the same product that he had somebody else selling and sell it for cheaper. It's called business strategic alternatives, and it's a good idea. It's not a good idea for some people, but it starts at corporate level, and it changes and manages and operates and simultaneously does things that operates in different industries all at the same time. A lot of companies that use that type of strategic, I guess, alternative know through a SWOT analysis what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, how to overcome them, and what times to use them. A lot of companies that use SWOT analysis can use disadvantages that other companies have to their advantage. And the good thing about a SWOT analysis is an evaluation of an organization, and it shows your strengths and it also shows your weaknesses. With showing your strengths, you know where you're strong at. Again, you also know where you're weak at. And organizational strengths are skills that and capabilities that certain companies have that other companies don't have. And I believe people capitalize off their strengths in a wise way. The goal is to develop good strategies to make you successful in business, to be time consuming, not time wasting on your strengths, and neutralize threats from other companies. And neutralizing a threat would be buying a company just so you can neutralize your opposition. You can turn their weakness really into a major weakness. You can exploit their weakness. So organizational weaknesses are dangerous. And a lot of companies that let other people find out their organizational weaknesses leave themselves susceptible to oppositions destroying and taking over their businesses. Organizational weakness or industry weakness would be in this pandemic would be labor. A lot of companies blindheartedly let go of all their workers, believing that when this would be over, all their workers would come back to them. It's an organizational threat. It's the area that they didn't have good knowledge in. It's a deficiency that they have now and they can't do anything about it. They have some businesses that have lost a lot of clientele because they couldn't control what they thought was going to happen with the situation that they were in. It was an organizational strategy that backfired on them, firing everybody and hoping that they come back. And now you have no workers, so now you're open and your business is failing and your customer service is failing and everything about you is not looking good. And all in all, it looks real bad for a lot of companies. So differentiation strategy is something where people strategize, but they differentiate from what they normally would do. It wouldn't be for them to be expected to do this. It's they distinguish themselves from the competition. They might be such as a Rolex, a stainless steel watch. I got a differentiate strategy. I'm going to show you the better watch and why I have the better watch, why you should use my watch, and what's the difference with my watch. The overall cost leadership. You know, you might have a business where I can sell you a vehicle for a better cost than the next guy. It's an overall better deal for you. Prime example right now would be Ford. Ford has a vehicle where they sell a small Bronco and you can buy this car and it's electric. It's good for the system, but the problem that Ford has right now is they don't have the chips to have the vehicle to run. So that's the overall cost deficiency that they have. So I basically think Ford's biggest problem, they should focus on their strengths and not their weaknesses. They concentrate on specific regions that really don't want this car. So you would have to get trucks. And prime example is in Louisiana, they have more trucks than cars. People basically want trucks. So basically, this company would study that. They would study their strengths. And with their strengths, they would also study the product life cycle. They would understand that, okay, we have a high value selling truck that sells. So right now it's in the steady product circle. It's in product cycle. It's in its maturity stage, but it's not on a decline yet because this vehicle will always be there for sale and it's all something you have to pay attention to. Many large companies engage in different types of businesses, numerous businesses in industries to diversify themselves. A lot of companies do it. Some companies do it well. Some companies don't. I've known numerous companies as of lately that have done diversification, where they just put their name on a certain product and they're in every type of thing. Prime example is Samsung. Samsung sells appliances. Samsung sells phones. In America, in other countries, they sell numerous other products, and that's a strategic business unit. They bought a certain unit to keep their name going, and they believe on their brand, so their brand is worth them diversifying and stuff like that. And many companies do that. They hire people, and they use certain type of diversification plans to diversify themselves to continue to have income coming in different ways. And it's good because you don't want to become a one trick pony, i.e., WD 40. That's a one trick pony. It's the only product they have. They can reinvent WD 40 so many times, but it is what it is. So, diversification is very important. It describes the number of different businesses a company can have to bring in money. Some of these diversifications are dangerous, some of these diversifications are not. You have a single point strategy, i.e., WD 40, and you might have many different businesses that are related to each other but are diversified, and they have different options within them. Some of them bring in many different streams of revenue. Some of them don't bring in too many streams of revenue at all, and some of them are not related at all. So it's good when you have unrelated revenues or unrelated businesses. You have to be tactical. You have to be smart in planning what you want to do with these companies, because many of these companies, if you don't plan them right, they will fail. So a lot of companies do a lot of research before they buy a company, before they deal into a company. They'll have certain people that are hired to manage portfolios, to study certain techniques of how to pick people, how to plan organizations, methods, development of organizations, businesses, and so forth. There are different type of matrices that they study. The BCG matrix is one where they provide framework and evaluation for these single unit groups that they are, and diversifying these groups if they are worth them buying. Um, I apologize for saying things like that, but you have to pay attention to industry attractions, the market growth, the market size, the capital required to get into that market, the competition that's invested in this market. Another thing you can also pay attention is the market share. How much of the market share you're going to get? The technological know-how. Can you hire the know-how, the people to make this work? Service network, product quality, price competitiveness, operating costs. So many of these different things go into plan when you're dealing with a company that you want to buy. A lot of companies bankrupt themselves by investing in something head first. If I had a company I was going to design, I'm going to study that company and see if it's worth me buying. I worked in the oil and gas industry for numerous years. A lot of companies would buy a company just for a certain product that that company offered, and they would bankrupt the company after they heard and got the intellectual property to that certain tool that they wanted. That's a major play in certain industries in the service rendering world. They will buy a company just to kill the competition. And there's numerous companies that are doing that right now, even in this pandemic, in bad times. They still find ways to pick up companies and basically downplay the company till it's nothing. Through this pandemic, a lot of companies have became wealthy, and a lot of companies have fell off. I.e., a lot of these big box stores, a lot of these malls are probably not going to change. They're probably going to be heading out the door, closing doors because of companies like Amazon. A lot of people like the comfortability of staying at their house, so that was a good business model, a strategic advantage that they used. They paid marketers to study things. They diversified the market. They became where they can sell anything. They took all the weaknesses that certain companies like eBay had, and they made them more important. They made themselves more important. They took all the failures that PayPal had with complications of buying a system, and they pay it forward. Whenever you call Amazon, it's never a problem to get your money back. It's never a problem for them to send the same product twice if it didn't get mailed right. It's all around all comfortability. And what they did, they diversified themselves by having Amazon Prime, Amazon Books, Amazon Music. They used their brand and bought into different companies. They became more of a threat than Netflix, and that wasn't even an industry they were in. They got in that industry by accident, but it's called diversification. And by them diversifying themselves, they never will play themselves out because their name has become ground unit, I guess, ground foundation. So with that foundation being there, you know that Amazon is who Amazon is. I think it's a good thing to have Amazon as one company I could talk about. There's numerous other companies that have defined themselves through planning, plotting, and strategizing, through market strategies, through basically all these different type of things that we have been talking about in this chapter. To name one other company would probably be Tesla. Tesla has redefined themselves. They're in plans to get into the outer space travel. Are a company for vehicles that are electric. It's things they are in, and some of these things that they are in, they're not even defined. They're not even explained to companies. So I believe that the strengths, weakness, and organizational threats and analysis that they study for have done a good job for this company. For many companies, just like it in America and abroad. And I believe that people should study these companies as an example of what to do and what not to do. Some of these companies that failed, and I believe some of these companies that did fail do need to admit that they failed and try to find a way to right their wrong. I believe a lot of people that are successful are blunt and they believe in the truth, that the truth is what it is. And a lot of these companies that fail want people to tell them what they want to hear and they don't want to hear the truth. I believe that's what it is, and basically this is my just of what I read in the chapter. It's a lot more stuff, but basically that's what I got out of it. It's very important to study. The foundation is your mission, and the mission is the foundation. It's a part of the culture. It has to be a part of the culture. If you don't have it in that mission statement, if you don't have the goals and the objectives that you want, you plan on failing. Every successful business follows this mission statement in its business plan to a T. Thank you.